This is the Audi Q8. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're looking at this and saying, this must be an absolute monster. You'd be right, it is. It's huge. It is slightly shorter than the Q7, but it's wider. And even though it's got a bigger number, it takes fewer people. I was a little bit conflicted about this car. Surely a car with the name Q8 must be big and stupid. So, what makes a Q8? Well, here's an edited highlight package for you. First, you've got an 8-point grille. So Audi fans will kind of see this is a different grille, and it's kind of part of a new look. Beautiful front headlights with these lovely animated LEDs here. Those are really cool. I love Audi lighting, really, really great. These are optional. These are the big boys. These are 22s. The car, well, this spec car, which is the 55 TFSI, comes with 21s, but these just don't ruin the ride. And on the 21s, you get Hancooks. On these, you get the Continental Sports. Under here in the 55 TFSI is the 3-litre V6 twin turbo. Same as the Audi A7 55 TFSI. It's a brilliant engine. We'll talk about that a bit later. This colour, I thought I'd hate it. I thought, ooh. But when you see the car and you see how it works on the lines, it's really, really great. As you can see, there's a lot of car here, and I do like this little Quattro reference. This is a 5-seat car, so this door gives you an idea that there is an enormous amount of room back here. Is that something you care about? Well, you might, because while this might be a big fat car, it's actually really fast. And of course back here you've got a giant boot. Again, is this a red line thing? I don't know, we're going to have to find out. But what's really cool about this car is the interior. It's an Audi. I don't have to say much about Audi interiors apart from this is an amazing interior. It's got the new 2-screen setup, which is familiar to the A7 and the A8. These screens are fantastic because not only are they crisp and clear and big, they don't dominate the thing, and when you turn it off you can't even see it, it just looks black, but they have this wonderful haptic feedback, so whenever you press something it clicks back at you and it just feels really good. And the control of this screen is extended down into the second screen, so you've got all your features that you need ready access to, and things like waypoints and your sat nav, and it's all very easy going and it all feels like a really good fast phone. The screens are just lovely, and that haptic feedback means that you press something and you feel like you've pressed it, so you don't have to take your eyes off the road. Now it's an Audi, so it's got Drive Select. In this car particularly, it's also got another big deal in it. It's got the air suspension. So the standard car has steel springs and adaptive damping, whereas this one has the air suspension. The air suspension is quite something. It's really good if you do spend time on unsealed roads. That's probably not ever going to happen with most Q8 owners, but you got to know about it. I can't say it made a huge difference, but it did make a big difference on the big potholed unsealed roads that we drove on. And of course, when you've got air suspension, it doesn't matter how big the rims are, the ride's always going to be great. Unusually for an Audi, it's got a big round steering wheel. There's no flat bottom on this, and I like that. I think that works for this car. It kind of gives you that, it just feels like you're driving a big car, which you are. It's an inch wider than the Q7, I've said, so it does have that road presence from behind the wheel as well as outside the car. Brand new virtual cockpit. The old one was great. This one is really, really good too. And look, there's everything in this car. Yes, this is the current top of the range until the really fast ones come, but these are fast. So let's not dilly-dally about that, and we'll talk about the drive in a minute. But I do want to show you something that's really important to this car. What's really important about this car? The massive back seat. I'm sitting behind where I drive. And I know I drive a little bit close because I think I'm a rally driver, when really I'm not. This is huge. This is like a limo. I am genuinely stretched out here. And you know, if you've got to carry people around or kids or whatever, you can actually bring them closer to you like that, but I've still got tons of room. This is Q7 legroom when it's all the way forward. It's quite something. You've also got all your own climate control back here, but there's a lot of space back here, and this is what the Q8 is about. It's not about carrying 7 people around. It's not about you know, kind of being part of that busy family kind of thing. The Q7 is about being a big, comfortable family car. It kind of clicked with me this morning when I was driving it. It's a car for people who want the wagon but also want the SUV. So people who used to buy an A6 are probably going to love this car.
So, the drive. 3-litre twin-turbo V6, 250 kilowatts and 500 newton metres. Now, I didn't think that was, well, the 500 newton metres is fine. I wasn't sure 250 kilowatts was going to be enough to shift this in a reasonable amount of hustle, but it moves. This thing does 0 to 100 in 5.9 seconds. That's 0 to 62 miles an hour in 5.9 seconds. 55 TFSI, so petrol, of course. The diesel has less power but more torque, and that's the 50 TDI. Now, I'm quite a fan of this car. I thought this car, as I've already said, was going to be a bit silly. Really silly. But it's not. It's really good to drive. It doesn't feel as heavy as it is. This is a 2-ton, well, it's well over 2 tons. It's a lot of car. It shouldn't be this agile. No, it's no hot hatch. It's no RS5 or even S5, but it's agile. It's got fantastic change of direction. Now, that might be helped on this particular car by the 4-wheel steer. This thing goes into corners that a car this big and heavy and tall has no right to. And there's a clear kind of relation to the SQ7 system. It runs on the same platform as the Q7, which is obviously an exceptionally good car. It's as far as the practical 7-seater goes, that is a cracker of a machine. It really is something else. And the SQ7 is an absolute monster, which bodes very well for the quick version of this. Now, what's interesting about this engine is it's got the 48-volt mild hybrid. Now, it's not doing what it does in the SQ7, which is run the third turbo, among other things, but mainly the third turbo. In this car, at the front of the engine, you've got this thing called a belt alternator starter. And what that does is, it does 2 things. Probably does more than 2 things, but I'm only worried about 2 things. So on the brakes, it can recover energy at up to 12 kilowatts, at a rate of 12 kilowatts. So you bang the brakes on, it starts charging the battery, which is in the boot. So it's a lithium-ion battery. It keeps everything running. So if I'm cruising along at, 100k, 60 miles an hour, and there's a fairly wide range it does this in, it actually cuts the engine out. So for up to 40 seconds, you can be whizzing along, engine off. I don't know. Do any of you have a parent? It's usually dads. Dads usually do stupid things like this. You're out on on a highway and you're going down a hill and dad just turns the car off to save fuel, which is tremendously idiotic. If you had one of those, that's kind of what it does. But obviously, because there's a quite a chunky power source in the back, you're not putting, an Audi isn't putting your family in danger. It's terrific. It's brilliant. It's in the A7 as well. It's very, very clever. You don't even notice, and as soon as you've got the foot back on the throttle, it picks up and away it goes. Now, the other thing it does is when you put your foot down, it deploys the power back through. Now, the trick about the belt alternator starter, or the BAS, I'm going to stop saying belt alternator starter because you're going to get sick of me saying it. What the BAS does, it deploys the power back into the wheels. So it's connected to the crankshaft, directly connected. So when it decides you need it, it can give you up to 6 kilowatts, which is almost 10 horsepower, whatever, but also can give you 60 newton meters of torque, which is awesome. It's like an overboost, like the Ford Fiesta ST and a couple of cars like that. You get that overboost when you put your foot down. You're getting that. So you get that for up to 5 seconds. Now, it's not a guaranteed thing because you may not have enough juice in the battery, the conditions may not be right, all of those things, you don't know. But, every now and again, you'll have 560 newton meters. which is really cool. And 256 kilowatts is not going to make a huge difference from 250, but yeah, that's pretty cool. So that's a mild hybrid setup. It can't run exclusively on electric, obviously. You're not going to get very far with 5 seconds of 60 newton meters. So yeah, that's impressive. But it kind of, I guess, it's almost a torque fill. It just kind of rounds the thing out and could be used, I imagine, by the engine as it picks up a gap in the torque or something. It's pretty cool. Any downsides? Well, 2.2 tons. It's a lot of car. And you're eventually going to feel the weight. This car has air suspension, but it doesn't have the active roll control that the SQ7 has, so I think we can probably expect that in the SQ8, a car that really doesn't, but actually really does exist. But Audi are very... that's not confirmed yet. Yeah, it's doing laps of the ring, I think. I think that's the car I saw the other day. Not personally, obviously, but on the internet. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't expecting this to be... I was expecting it to be luxurious. We do luxury cars on the Red Line, and I like luxury cars. And I was expecting it to be a luxury car. I was not expecting it to be quite so capable on the road. And that's pretty cool. I really like this car. This is actually a car I'd probably own, providing I had some smaller, faster things. I'd own a car like this. I think it's quite something. For a family, this you can move a lot of stuff, and I think this is probably one of the best kind of touring cars as far as going out on holidays. If I was going on a long holiday, particularly here in Australia, if I was going on a long holiday, this would be a terrific car, because you can take all your stuff, because the boot's huge. Everyone's going to fit in the back, because you'd have to be about 9 feet tall to not fit in the back of this car. It's pretty cool, and I think it looks great. I really do. I like the way this car looks. Yeah, I've got to turn around now and take this car back. I just want to keep driving. I can quite happily drive this back to Sydney today. Really happily.
So what have I learned about the Q8? Is it a big, stupid car? Well, I was half right. It's big, but it's not stupid. I came into this thinking, I don't know about this. It's heavy, it's big. Look, it is heavy. It's 2.3 tons. It's a lot of car, but it's got the engine to movement. The 55 TFSI is a lot of fun to drive, and it's quick. The 50 TDI, that's going to be quite a monster too, but I do think this is one of the great engines. Beautiful, smooth, 3-litre V6. It's fast, and it's so quiet. Okay, does that make it a red line car? I reckon it does, because it does go quickly. It does what it does really, really well, and you can do it with 5 people on board comfortably. So this is kind of a sports SUV without it being a sports SUV, but it's made for real humans, not having to be crammed into the back of a car that just doesn't quite fit you.